Alright everybody, time to get caught up on the action in the crayfish tank here. It's Sunday morning, I just came down, I just got the lights turned on, and when I looked in there, the very first thing I noticed was one of my crayfish up near the surface. You can see in the very center of the tank, his back is actually breaking the surface of the water. So I thought he was standing up on the rocks until I took a little closer look at him and realized that he's out in the middle of the water. He's actually just floating there. And when I say he, I'm using that term very loosely. I don't want to move around too much because they're just starting to come out for the morning, and I don't want to startle them. I did put some shrimp pellets in there, but if you will look closely, you can see that that crayfish has no face or really a head. It just sort of stops at the eye stalks. And then if we come around this way and have a little closer look under the water, you can see that there's no tail and most of the legs are gone. So that's not really a crayfish, that's just the remains of a crayfish. And you can see the smaller crayfish on that rock up there very likely could be part of who's been munching on him overnight. I'm sure this crayfish was killed last night sometime. He's been in the tank for a while. They've probably been working on him overnight. Crayfish are not strictly nocturnal, but they are more active at night. And if there's something like a big food source, a big meaty crayfish being torn apart by one crayfish, that really probably would get the other ones very much up and active. So this is the one that is probably the culprit as far as being the bruiser in the tank. This is now the dominant one. That was the one, if you've been following along all the time, he had two claws originally and was slightly smaller than the now dead one. So you can see he didn't really need to come out to get his new, I'm looking at his brand new claw there, I was going to mention that, but he didn't even need to come out to get his shrimp pellets. One must have floated down into the cave he's built for himself, and he's already got it in his claw there. You can see on the left part of the screen, our left, his right. But you see that little tiny claw he's waving around, that is a new claw developing. You see the big claw on our right, or his left, and that is his intact claw, and the one that was torn off is actually regenerating and regrowing, and you can see it there on the left. He's not really doing anything with it because it's pretty useless at this point. But that will grow back into another full-size claw. These are very resilient animals. And like I said, it's brutal, and I knew it was going to be a fight. There's probably still going to be fighting because I have 3 crayfish in the tank that I know of, or in theory I should say. I have not found the body of another one, so it's possible that another one was eaten, but they usually don't get eaten so thoroughly that nothing is left. So we can see the 2 that are still alive. We've got the body of the 3rd one, so theoretically there is a very small 4th one in here somewhere, and I suspect that that one is actually back there. It dug itself out a little notch in the gravel behind that filter, and he's actually small enough to get back there and hides from these larger crayfish who by now would have killed and eaten him. So as time goes on, he will grow. Eventually he'll slough and he'll get too big to hide back there anymore, and we will get some more action. And as these crayfish continue to grow and stake out territory and want more territory as they get bigger, because these do get pretty big. They get 5 or 6 inches long, so I mean they can be thought of as freshwater lobsters if you'd like, and they will get fairly big. And you can already see how much excavating they've been doing now that I'm not in there cleaning the tank all the time and doing water changes every day. Now that the tank is cycled in, we're actually starting to get some construction projects going on in there, and everybody's sort of digging out their little caves the way they like them and staking out territories. I'm really surprised nobody's really dug in on this end of the tank. I guess there's nowhere to dig really. That filter goes, it's sitting right on the bottom, and then I put the gravel in after the filter. So this whole filter unit here is sitting right on the bottom of the tank. So that's about it as far as the update. I will point out finally, if you notice how askew my little planter is here, it should be just tucked in the corner like that, more or less. And it was all kicked out that way, probably because a crayfish was up there overnight crawling around and wedged himself in behind that and literally shoved it out of the way to get in there. You'd be amazed at how much stuff these guys move. They move sticks around, they move rocks around. I just mentioned they moved my planter out of the way. They are little industrious little construction workers, and they're very active all the time. If you've got the opportunity to set up a crayfish tank or have a crayfish in one of your tanks, I definitely recommend it. They're a lot of fun. They're a very, very interesting little animal to watch. Very aggressive, very territorial, and they are excellent hunters. They don't rely predominantly on hunting, but if you've got fish in your tank, even larger fish, they will take shots at them. I used to keep sunfish with these guys, and I'd come down some days and you'd see a sunfish with slices in its fins, and I knew damn right well where they came from. I knew those crayfish were in there taking shots at them as they swam by or they got close enough. And while they couldn't do a lot of damage, you know, they can't really grab a hold of a full-size sunfish and hang on to it. They could certainly injure it. And, you know, so if you had this, you know, a larger crayfish in with fish, you know, tropical fish or something like that, the crayfish would do fine in that tropical temperature. But I don't know if you'd want to keep them with your fish unless they were very active fish that stayed very high in the water column and never went down near the bottom. The crayfish can be very aggressive, very dangerous towards fish even. And if you got more than one crayfish in a tank, you better have lots and lots of space for them, or you will end up with one crayfish in the tank, which is what I fully expect over the course of the summer. And by the time we get into the colder winter months, I'll probably go ahead and shut this tank down. This will just be a fun little summer thing to do, and as time goes on, it'll just fade away and we'll do another project over the winter or something. So thanks for watching this update, and hopefully I will see you real soon on the next one. I got to get in there now. Actually, you can see that this little crayfish has found the remains again, and he's gone after it, and he's going to start working on tearing it apart and dismantling it. I guess in theory I don't even have to get in there and take it out of there, but that's a big chunk of, you know, meat just sitting in there rotting all day, and, you know, I just don't want it fouling the water. And honestly, by this afternoon I'll start to smell that. If I just left it in there, it'll start stinking, basically like you would imagine a dead crayfish would start to smell like after a day. So he's coming out as soon as I'm done this video. I might even do a little water change on the tank without really disturbing too much of anything, and we'll see where we go from there. So once again, thanks for watching this one, and if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and do so. That way you won't miss any of the stuff I got coming up. And I do have a lot of stuff coming up. This is only my first video for the day, and I plan on shooting 3. So hopefully I'll see you at least on 2 of those later.